What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chart Request Live. My name is Patrick Denawilla. Joining me today to help break down the charts, we got Sam Gatlin. Sam, how are you?
Hey, what's up? Happy
How was your
Monday.
weekend?
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
Happy
that's right.
second round of the NBA playoffs. There's a lot to be excited about this week.
There sure is. There sure is. What do you think? You think we'll get the 10th straight up day, or so far not looking great? We're down 20
Yeah,
basis points. It could happen.
it has been a nice intraday reversal here. But yeah, no, the market has been on a heater. I've been looking at this, let's call it 575 level on the SPY. That's
Yep.
really my line in the sand. That's where things really start to get interesting. If this is in fact a little scoop and score here, we'll need to see price get above that level. And you'll see that is where we had a nice little doji candlestick when we ran up into the VWAP anchored to the all-time high and just got absolutely slammed. And that's really where this whole mess started. So that is the scene of the crime, that 575 level. So I don't know if we're gonna have the 10th straight update today or not, but
Yeah, winning
my
streaks
guess
kind
is
of
no.
trivial. More important than those levels, and I agree. I mean, I think that 575 super important. Last week it was kind of about that 550 or 555-ish level. You had the VWAP there, but this week you also have that 200-day moving average. That's going to get a lot of focus this week, right near that 575 level.
Is that
And
where it comes in right now?
yeah, and you got the January lows there. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons that's an important level. So we'll see. But like you said, I mean, I wouldn't get totally discouraged or excited either way if we do get the 10th update, right?
For sure. Yeah, no, it just sounds like there's a confluence of interest here at 575. I didn't realize the 200 day was at that level, but that's how it usually works out. It's not just one indicator. We all watch different indicators and then they all tend to kind of coincide with each other. That's,
Right, right.
we're all just looking at different derivatives of the price. So,
Absolutely. So let's kick it off here with the mailbag. I think this is a good one to start with, Sam, here. Microsoft.
yeah, how about the Microsoft, Patrick? Added
Massive move.
$200 billion in market cap in a single session last week and resolved, or actually unresolved, a massive top. So here's the setup. Microsoft had a massive uptrend that started in late 2022, early 2023, probably like 120%, which is huge for the largest stock in the entire stock market. And then it churned sideways here for several quarters, and it resolved this top here until last week it had its earnings report on Wednesday after the close, and they reported a double beat, and the stock rallied 7.5%. And this was actually its best earnings reaction since 2015.
Nice.
And you also love to see, not only did you have that 1 day earnings reaction, but you've had 2 days of really sweet follow through.
Yeah.
So you love to see that. It's not just the 1 day reaction, but the buyers are continuing to accumulate shares there.
Yeah, and
And yeah, like I
Microsoft's
said, this is the largest stock in the entire market, so it's kind of a big deal.
second largest. I
Is
think
it the
Apple's
second
still,
largest?
yeah, I think Apple's still number one. But you know,
No, Patrick,
this
I'm looking at
one
the scoreboard right now.
is it?
Microsoft is 3.2, Apple is just above 3 trillion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
They dance around though all the time. It's
yeah, absolutely.
changes
And,
every day.
and this one's been dealing with that level for over a year now. I mean, it's just been kind of going sideways, rolling over, and that was the extension of the base from 2022. But it looks like it's finally decisively above that.
Yeah. Which level is the extension? You're saying the support level?
So if you
400?
fib out the 2022 decline there, I mean, it's just been dealing with that level for about a year now, but finally kind of reclaiming it there.
And look what happened here, Patrick. We've seen a lot of this recently with just the broad averages, but prior cycle high turned into resistance, and now it's support. We saw this exact same picture in the S&P 500. So was that it? Did it just need to retest and then it's back off to the races? I don't know. I think you want to give the bulls the benefit of the doubt. If it's above that 434 level that you were pointing out, that seems like a big one to me. From there, sky's the limit. This is probably heading towards that 600 level, a little bit shy at 570. It's like 30% upside from here.
Ooh.
That would be a big deal for the market. That would
not bad for $1 trillion stock.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move it on to Uber. I think they report Wednesday, right?
Yeah, what a sweet chart that is. I also like Uber in relative terms. This is a really clean chart here. Little inverted head and shoulders pattern. The market's peaked right at the same level on 3 different occasions, so it's super well defined here. Uber relative to the S&P 500. So
nice.
If Uber is breaking out in absolute terms, we really want to see that relative trend follow to confirm.
Wow, yeah, the relative chart's even nicer than the absolute.
Exactly. Yes, I love that so much about this chart. So let's see. Is this the Ackman dip right here, or was that more in January? I forget when that was. Sometime Bill Ackman came out here and bought the dip, and I think it was right here. Yeah, February. And you got these 2 monster candlesticks. So here's the little Ackman 30% pump. It peaked there in late February. But here you are. Let's see. The all-time closing high in Uber is 86.34, and right now you're at 86.20. So this is super actionable right here. And Patrick, let me ask you, how do you fib this out? Do you just ignore this little blow-off candlestick here from October?
Yeah, if you fib out the COVID decline, that's the one I've been going with. It's right from like not the absolute high, but right before the COVID decline. Seems like it's been following that one pretty well. But as far as that little false breakout in October of last year, I think you can kind of treat that as, like I said, a false move. And I would say 82 is kind of the level here. I mean, if it's above that, I'd definitely air bullish on this one.
Definitely. That's the level that has my attention. But I could see the case for wanting to see confirmation above that October little blow-off candlestick.
Totally.
Because, that was really nasty. This looked really, really nice. You had a sweet gap above those former highs. Looked like it was off to new all-time highs, and it just got absolutely destroyed. Let's see.
Yeah.
32% drawdown pretty quickly there. So you'd have to imagine there's some type of overhead supply there. So seeing price exceed that level would be huge, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So 86.34 is the level to watch.
But I'll tell you, man, that relative chart is really the one that sticks out here, I think.
Yeah, let's pull that up one more time. That's just such a thing of beauty. Here we have it. We could even mark it up with the little head and shoulders. A real beaut here, Patrick. I like it a lot. I like the fundamentals here too. This is a cash flow machine. I've heard several people make the argument that this is like a Buffett type stock. It's just a toll booth type company, and they have an amazing moat. They just print money. So
yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of a duopoly industry where you have Uber and Lyft, but not really, because Uber is just so much bigger. But anyway, let's move on here. We got a couple more. Last one in the mailbag here. We got actually we'll look at some of the country ETFs in a second, but let's look at this APH. This one comes from Hansen, and his time frame is about 3 months. APH.
Cool. Yeah, this is a sweet chart. So Amphenol is almost $100 billion in market cap. Here it is, I believe, making new all-time highs. Look at this trend. It's just a secular uptrend. This thing doesn't really trade with the market. We can look at the relative trend here, also making new all-time highs. So this is a beast. Let's see, they do some type of electronic components. Do you know what they do, Patrick?
I mean, you said it, electronic components of some sorts, but I got to tell you, when you hear of these companies that you haven't heard of before, but they're trading like this, where they're at an all-time high, and it's a $100 billion company, that's interesting for sure. And I like that they're kind of under the radar like that.
Definitely, yeah. This is an Eddie Elfenbein type of stock.
Totally. There you go. Yeah.
So here it is, fibbed out from the Great Financial Crisis. So this one fell like 65% during the Great Financial Crisis. Pretty severe drawdown, but nothing unusual for the circumstances there. So here is 77.5. This is really the level that I want to trade against from a higher time frame. You know, the market peaked here earlier this year. We churned sideways for a little bit, tried to carve out some type of distribution pattern, but the bulls have stepped in and drove the price back to new all-time highs. And look at how the market respected this on that final or third week of January. You had a strong move into it, but you got a nice wick, just showing that this level is important to the market. The sellers were stepping up here and capping the rally. So we're trading this with a 3-month time frame, it sounds like. So what I would do is fib it out like this. Yeah, check this out. So I love how this lines up perfectly. So
straight to it.
Yeah, I'm fibbing out this range. This is last summer's peak to the August 5th low. And as you can see, we're right at that 161.8 extension of that move. So that is the level to trade against. So we'll call it 80 and 3/4, or you can round it up to 81, make it a nice round number. If you're above there, path of least resistance is higher towards that 97 level in the APH. I also like how it gapped above this former high right here, Patrick.
Yeah,
this really was the first warning that this one was about to go on a new uptrend, a new leg higher. That was sparked by their earnings reaction back on April 23rd. So that was a sweet reaction, it looks like. Let's see how that shapes up historically. So that was, wow, check this, Patrick. Best earnings reaction since the summer of 2012. That's what we just had right here. So yeah, I like this a lot. This is sweet. Shout out whoever brought this one along.
That one comes from Hansen. And we got one more here in the mailbag. Nick he's asking about a bunch of different country ETFs here. Why don't I shout out a few, and you can take a look at some of your favorites here. We got Germany, EWG, Sweden, EWD, Switzerland, EWL, Greece, GREK, and Israel, EIS or ISRA.
I think we have to start out with the Germany, Patrick.
Okay.
Because what a chart this is. I mean, holy cow, this is a almost 20-year base that it's breaking out of pretty decisively too, I might add. So we peaked here in 2007, again in 2017, again in 2021. We tried to break out in March, and let's just zoom in on this little whipsaw move. So we broke out in March, then we came back, failed to break out, and then look at how we just skyrocketed back above those highs, gapping and going to new all-time highs. This just looks amazing. This screams new primary uptrend to me. You know, we've had 20 years of sideways here in Germany. I love this chart so much. So let's fib it out and see just from a high time frame what we should be looking at as a first target. It looks like 52 is that 161.8 extension level. So that's about 12 more points, 11 more points of upside from here. So Germany looks great, Nick. Let's look at Sweden real fast. Also breaking out of a massive base, and this is even bigger than Germany. So this one goes all the way back to before the dot-com bubble. This one peaked, or really at the dot-com bubble, March 2000. So this is a dot-com bubble base, and you can see right here in the prior cycle when we peaked in 2021, 2022, it tried to break out of this massive base and failed miserably. So you've had plenty of time to dance around here. I really like that a lot about this chart. So I do want to see confirmation that we take out those summer 2021 highs. But if EWD is above, let's call it 30, 38, 37 and a half, if it's above there, you know, this looks great. Probably heading back towards 56 new all-time highs.
Looks good.
Yeah, looks very good. And
Do you want to hit one more?
Let's go to Israel, actually. Switzerland looks great. We also were asked about Greece. Greece looks great. Let's see if there's a retracement here. Yeah, so watch out for that 53. That's the 61.8 retracement. But if it's above there, this one's probably heading towards 77. You know, these are some great countries that Nick brought along. Probably the strongest aside from a few, but it's a great basket that he brought along.
Yeah, Greece really been doing it lately.
Yeah. So here's Israel, and he mentioned several Israel tickers, but I like this EIS the most, and here's why. You have a massive weighting in technology here in the EIS, so you have about 34% technology, but you also have some financials, which have been crushing it in Israel. Yeah, I like this ETF composition quite a lot. I like fibbing this one out from that great financial crisis drawdown. So you can see that we're about to run into that 161.8 extension level at $82. So if EIS can get above there, I think this one's poised to go on a new leg higher. Get that $100 roll. 115 is the next target. But this is shaping up really nice.
Yeah, a lot of those big move out of Europe, and it's really getting it done too. I mean, the recovery there, I mean, they corrected pretty sharply in April there, but it's been a very sharp V-shaped recovery there if you look at a lot of those Europe ETFs.
Definitely, yeah, and it's happening at big levels too, Patrick, like especially that Germany chart that we talked about first.
Yeah.
They tried to break it back down below that key level of interest, but the bulls just, I think also the time that it spent below that huge level of interest. Let's go back to Germany because it's such a good example. So Germany broke out in March and then it failed for like 2 days. Let's call it a week. It spent a week below that key level. And then it just gapped back above it and is soaring to new all-time highs. You know, that is what you want to see. Just a little shake before you bake. I like that a lot.
Very similar to those Europe financials too.
Totally.
Let's hit the chat here. Mr. Zerby's asking us about KTOS, KTOS, long above 34. What do you think?
Yeah, this has been an absolute beast of a stock, and I think it's just getting started. I'd also like to, before we talk about Katos, can we just admire last month's candlestick and the ITA, the aerospace and defense? I mean, look at this
Huge.
candlestick here. New
Yeah.
all-time monthly closing high. Look at that lower wick. I mean, this is a really interesting place to watch right now. It's not just in the US also, it's across the world. You know, Israel has some sweet aerospace and defense stocks. Europe has some sweet aerospace and defense stocks. China too. China's really into the drones. There's some sweet drone charts in China. But this is a whole global theme, so I like that aspect of it as well. Just adds to my conviction in the trade. But here we already marked up the KTOS, so I
We
think
got
that's
earnings
30.
in a couple days here. We got earnings on Wednesday evening, I believe. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Correct.
so yeah, probably don't want to do anything here today with the KTOS. But yeah, keep an eye on this. You know, this is set up for a little gap and go, Patrick. You
Sure
know,
is.
right at that breakout level. If this earnings report is good, you know, you could see this one gap up 10% or whatever and go on a brand new uptrend. You know, I think you got to be looking at this 180 from a high level time frame. 180 really is what has my attention. So that is like 400%. And that's not going to happen this quarter or this year. It's going to take some time. But look at the structural reversal pattern that we're just now resolving. You know, I think that has potential to get to 200. Hell, I don't even want to say 1500, but like that's where my head's at. You know, I think this one's heading back to new all-time highs. It's probably going to take many years, but this is like I like to call this the investor pattern, Patrick. You know, this is great for people that aren't looking to trade weekly options or something like that. They're looking to just tuck a great company away in their retirement account. This pattern screams investor to me. So if you're somebody with a long time frame, you're just looking to tuck a great company away for many years, take a look at Kratos. I like this.
Yeah, I like that the base already failed there earlier this year, so
Yeah.
chances are a little bit better that I'll get done on this one, and already recovered nicely from that correction there.
Totally.
Let's see what we got next here. Let's take a look at CYBR, cybersecurity, or CyberArk, sorry.
So this is CyberArk. This is $18 billion. Is this American? No, this is Israeli. Sweet. So we were just
There you
talking
go.
about
Yeah.
Israel stocks, or Israeli stocks, and this is one of the biggest. And let's look at so there's the ARK Israel Fund, which is ticker IZRL. And that's where you can find a lot of these hot growth companies. I like to go fishing there sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, so it looks like this is about 1.8% of that ARK Israel fund. It's in the like top 20 holdings of it. Anyways, this is a sweet, and I think this is just a general rule for cybersecurity. You know, it just seems to me to be more of a secular growth trend, not very cyclical. You know, nobody's really planning on spending less on cybersecurity. You know, I think spending for cybersecurity is just going to increase for the foreseeable future. And CyberArk seems to be benefiting from that, much like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto. It looks very similar to those charts, but a little stronger, to be honest. So we could look at cyber relative to something like PAC, which is the cybersecurity benchmark industry group. And you can see that cyber is stronger than its peer group. It's making new all-time highs here in this little consolidation pattern. You could draw this up as some type of like It's actually pretty clean, Patrick, like some type of pennant. Do you like these? I kind of like bull flags more than these that have a symmetrical apex, but nonetheless, this looks pretty sweet just in relative terms. Let's go back to the absolute trend here. And did we get a time frame, Patrick? That would be helpful.
No time frame on the CYBR.
Cool. No worries. So yeah, just from a high time frame, I'm looking at this 685 extension. So that comes in right around $340. So if it's above there, I think the path of least resistance points higher towards 530. But if you want to be a little bit more tactical with it, get a little freaky with the cyber, I think you can just trade this base right here. And here's how I would mark it up. I would draw some little Fibonacci retracement levels to help me define my risk. So really that 61.8 retracement level is what has my attention. I would look to buy this one on strength above that 370 level as it climbs up and out of this basing pattern. And that would probably lead you to new all-time highs. And this is a way you could just manage your risk and get into this one on time. So 370 has my attention. That would get you up to 420. It's 50 points of upside. Let's call it 15% of upside. So that looks like a great trade to me.
Yeah, definitely shaping up. We got a question about live feeder cattle. You want to take a look?
Hey, no, go read my post. I'll drop it in the chat here. I actually wrote about this one on Friday for Commodities
cattle?
Weekly on the blog. So I'll drop the blog post in the chat.
Nice.
Go check that out. It was great. And your life has gone horribly wrong if you haven't read that post. I titled it, "Who Let the Cows Out?" But no, the cattle look great. So yeah, shout out whoever brought that one along because they're watching the right markets.
You got any price targets for it?
For the live cattle?
Yeah.
So the live cattle, let's see. Live cattle, I like it above that 210 level, which is a key extension with a target of 240. But again, I dropped that post in the chat. So if you want to check it out, go check out the blog, All-Star Charts.
Good stuff.
What else do we have, Patrick?
Let's hit it one more here. Let's do OKTA.
Yeah, the Okta. So what is this? Okta is $20 billion software stock. And have you ever used the Okta software?
I can't say I have, no.
Yeah. It looks like it's for large enterprises. They do like some multi-factor authentication stuff. Sounds important. Kind of sounds like cybersecurity, you know, that's probably not something that any companies are going to be spending less money on, you know. You need to have that multi-factor authentication. You're a large enterprise. It's very important. So here's how I see the Okta is with these Fibonacci retracement levels. I would also drop the WAP from that all-time high, which you can see that is right at the upper bounds of this base. So if Okta is above this 115 level, I think you can say that the bulls are taking back control of this one after several years of being absent. And Okta's probably entering a brand new primary uptrend. And you can see how long that lasted in the past. You know, this one went pretty much straight up from its IPO in 2017 to its peak in 2021. The Okta rallied 1,200% over that time. So this was a huge winner, a beast. And this is a great chart. This kind of reminds me of Cloudflare, Patrick.
Yeah.
Look at Cloudflare before it broke out. It had a very, very similar cup and handle structure. And when it broke out of that pattern, look at how it just skyrocketed higher. It's come back and had a little bit of a corrective wave, but it was a sweet uptrend there. This went from 60 to 175 in a matter of like a year, a little bit less than a year. So is Okta gonna do the same thing? I don't know, but it's certainly shaping up that way. So above 115, I think 140 is the next target. After that, you're looking at 200, and 300 comes after that. So plenty of juice here with the Okta. This looks great.
Yeah, I like it, and very similar to Cloudflare. That was a good comparison there.
Yeah.
But Sam, I think we got to leave it here for today. I know we got a couple we didn't get to. Wavy says long BAP. Thanks. Which one's that? BAP? Oh,
Isn't that the
credit core?
I was
BAP.
thinking this was an Argentine bank.
Okay.
No, I don't think it is though.
But before we go, you got any favorites from
It's
today?
Peruvian. No, my favorite chart was this Kratos. I think it was Mr. Zerby that brought this one along. So shout out Mr. Zerby, always bringing the heat. This chart is incredible. I love this so much. A multi-decade cup and handle pattern. I think the sky's the limit for this one, Patrick, really. And it's not just this one stock, but it's the entire aerospace and defense industry group that is working around the world, whether it's the United States, whether it's Europe, whether it's China, whether it's Latin America, whether it's Israel. Pick your poison. Aerospace and defense is on fire right now, and this one looks poised to be the next leader.
Yeah, it's definitely shown relative strength, the entire group.
Yeah.
What
did you like today, Patrick?
I'm going to have to go with the Uber chart, and specifically the Uber relative one, which is even more impressive, right? For Uber.
Definitely, yeah. Had you seen that before I marked it up?
I hadn't seen the relative, no.
I look at this every weekend when I go through my chart book.
I mean, it definitely begs the question. The thing's approaching all-time highs here right before earnings, couple days, so it'll be an interesting week for it, for sure.
Yeah, a gap and go would be pretty cool for the Uber.
Absolutely. And like hardly any progress over the past year. It's quite the time for it.
Definitely. This is one of the greatest American businesses right here. So shout out Uber. Almost $200 billion in market cap there for Uber. This is a big deal.
If we didn't get to your trade idea, be sure to email us at questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and we'll be sure to hit on it next time. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Yes, happy Cinco de Mayo.